guys! So this is the first live stream that I'm doing for this new challenge that I have started for February. This is called the February Artist Restarter Calendar, and as you can see I've got it here on this side. And it's kind of like just a program that I have started for myself mostly because I wanted to improve my drawing and even though I am a professional artist, I do tend to forget about my basics basically, and I tend to get kind of sucked into work and not actually practicing just practicing to improve basically my portfolio. Instead I just kind of draw for work, and I want to get better. Even though I'm working, I still want to improve myself, not just relating to my work, but also for my art itself. And so I decided to create this calendar and to brush up on my basics, and also to try out a new style, and so that I can push my push out of my comfort zone basically. So here you can see today it's the 1st of February and we have a relatively easy task. As you can see here, every day I put down a little exercise, basically a couple of exercises for myself, but also for you guys if you want to join me in this effort. So here I have today, I need to pick my art media and brushes and practice lines on a page. And of course this might sound incredibly simple and very fast to do and not very artistic probably, but actually I think it's super important to be clear about what you want to do when you do a challenge. So if you set yourself some reasonable goals and reasonable boundaries, it will be easier to actually develop and improve in the course of the month. So why I say boundaries? Boundaries for me means basically that, especially at the start when you're a beginner artist, it's easy to get sort of lost in you see all these different styles, all these different tools, especially if you're doing digital art. There's endless possibilities and it's very easy to get lost and not focus on one specific thing at a time, and then it might actually harm your improvement. So instead, what I encourage you to do, and what I'm going to do now, is that I'm going to pick my media, which means, if you want to do traditional art, if you want to do digital art, or, if you want to do a mix of these two. So for example, start with traditional by making a sketch on your sketchbook and then scanning that sketch into your computer, and then or taking a picture on your iPad and then finish it digitally. Or for example, also what kind of software you're going to be using. So maybe you're doing this challenge because you're trying to learn how to use Studio Clip Paint or Photoshop or whatever. So for me, I'm going to be using Photoshop CC, as you can see here, and I'm going to be practicing some specific I'm going to be using some specific brushes that I want to try out more. So here I have, as you can see, by the way, I'm really sorry that my camera is facing away from me, but that's the only place where I could place it, which is to the side of my desk. So I hope you guys don't mind and that you can still hear me fine. I have my microphone in front of me, so hopefully you can still hear me. So yeah, basically I'm going to be, as you can see here, I have my general brushes, which are just the brushes that come with Photoshop, and then I have my favorites, and that's something that I encourage you all to do. Even if you work with Procreate, or I think this is something that you can do also with different software. Like, try and make yourself a category or a folder of favorites, so that you don't have every time to look up new brushes, because I think, again, one of the things that are really difficult to do as a beginner artist is to just stick to one brush. You have this idea when you start out that a brush is going to change the way that you draw, or is going to improve the way that you draw. That is not true. Of course, it's good to use brushes that you feel comfortable with, but by no means that means that it's going to improve your drawing. Like, your drawing should be good and solid regardless of the brush, and especially at the start, it's better if you just stick to 1 or 2 brushes max, because otherwise, hang on, I'm sorry, I'm just replying in chat. Because otherwise it will actually make it a lot more difficult to kind of improve if you focus so much on your tools and not enough on your craftsmanship, basically. So I have my favorite sort of category here. As you can see, there's quite a lot of brushes because over time I have filled it with all the different brushes that I was going to use in different projects. But the first 4 are part of a pack that I got from Shi-Yun Kim, who is a character designer in Disney Pixar. So I think his brushes are really nice, and they're really good for sketching and to give that kind of inky traditional feel. So I really like them. And because the style that I want to try out this month is to push more my traditional cartoon style, so not so much working with realistic proportions or with more kind of Disney-esque style, but work more with really pushed proportions, really cartoony, more Cartoon Network in a way, I guess, like more like simple, more stylized, basically. So I'm gonna try and use these brushes just to start my concepts, basically, but then I'm actually gonna try and use more shapes than lines, basically. But since today's exercise is to practice some lines on a page, I'm going to be doing that as well. There you go. So these definitely are some of my favorite brushes that I'm going to be using. This is also Kyle's Drawing Box Animator Pencil is my favorite brush for sketching. As you can see, it's got a really nice kind of pencil-y feel. It's very soft, very smooth, and that's definitely something that I really like when I'm sketching, because I need to feel my hand very loose. Like if I sketch with a pen sort of pencil, a pen sort of brush, I tend to stiffen up my wrist, which is not good. So yeah. What I mean by drawing a few lines on the page is exactly this. Try and draw some lines on your canvas and try and be as precise as possible to follow the same direction and the same distance between the lines. This might seem a very boring exercise, and it is kind of boring, but it's super good to practice your hand-eye coordination and also to improve the feel of your hand on the page. So basically, it's just really good to develop a good steady hand. And you can definitely improve the smoothing. Like if you're using Photoshop or if you're using Procreate, you can amp up the smoothing percentage of your pen. So for example, maybe a 5%, it's good. It kind of just steadies your line a little bit. I wouldn't go more than 5% because otherwise, the software is doing all the work basically, and you're not actually improving. But at 5%, I think it's a good, it's a good percentage, so that you're still doing some work, but you're not, terribly worried about having, the steadiest hand in the work, basically. So yeah, definitely Kyle's Drawing Box is Kyle's Animator Pencil. is one of my favorite brushes, definitely one of the brushes that I'm going to be using for sketching. And then I have the Shi Kim brush, which is also going to be one of my go-to brushes this month. And again, when you're done with all these straight lines, you can start by making wavy lines, you know? As soon as you're done with one thing, you're changing the game. And again, with the wavy lines, same thing, you know, you're trying to stay on the same path as the wave line before, and just, you know, just try and be as oh, hi guys, sorry, I'm just again replying to the chat. Also, I do realize that this is a weird time for a live stream. In Italy it's 11:45, and in everywhere else in the world it's probably night or very late afternoon, so I'm not sure if anybody is actually on this live stream, but I'm still gonna be recording them and just leaving them lying around on the web, and then maybe, you know, someone can watch them whenever they have time. I'm doing this mostly so that I feel accountable to my own program, so if you guys want to watch, it's great. Otherwise, I'm probably still gonna be streaming on my own, and that would be kind of funny, but, you know, whatever. So yeah, basically you just kind of practice all these different wavy line, and the more waves you try, the more difficult it is to follow along, obviously. So it will make it more difficult to practice, and therefore a much bigger workout for your hand. Also, the reason why I'm keeping my Cintiq upright is that the correct position for drawing is to draw kind of like having an easel in front of you. So if you can keep your hand straight and have like a good kind of like upright kind of stand, maybe if you have an iPad, you can get one of those stands that you can put up in front of you. Mostly because one is your posture. If you're working like on the table, you tend to do this, and that's bad for you, obviously. You don't want to develop a, you know, chronic problem with your back. So if you can stay as upright as possible, it's better. And also for the gesture that you can make, especially when you do gesture drawing or, you know, sketching, if you can keep a good distance between yourself and the tablet, and if you can make the gesture starting from your shoulder and your arm and not just from your wrist, that's, you know, that's better, because your wrist is you know, it's easy to develop chronic problems like carpal tunnel syndrome and stuff like that if you just move your wrist, and also you don't have as much strength in your wrist as you do in your whole arm. So if you can move, you know, your whole arm, it's definitely much better for you. So yeah, so this is Shiyun. Brush set, which is another one of my, it's going to be another one of my pencil settings for this challenge this month. I'm just replying to something in chat. And yeah, oh crap, I randomly closed the chat right now, so I just need to very quickly go back and pop it out again. There you go. Emily in chat asks if we are doing this, if I'm doing this with different brushes or keep to one. So I was thinking of basically using 3 brushes mostly. So as I was saying, for sketching, I'm probably going to be using Kyle's Animator pencil because it's just my go-to brush for sketching. Whenever I'm doing something with kind of line art and inks, I'm going to be using Shion Kim's brush set. And for the coloring part and kind of like the shape part, because as I was saying before, I want to try and push out of my comfort zone and work more with shapes rather than lines. Basically, that's my goal for this month. I'm going to be trying the Kyle Gouache mini set. So I'm going to be trying these kind of like gouache brushes that, for me, it's kind of hard because I never used gouache before on Photoshop. As you can see, this one, it's rather wet, I think, and you can see it because it blends in an odd way, basically, if you go back on it. There's this one as well, very nice texture brush. So I'm probably gonna be trying some of these gouache sets whenever I do just shapes rather than outlines, basically. And the interesting thing is that this kind of gouache set has a different dynamic, basically, from the basic brush, where you can see the difference pretty obviously. Like, this is the hard round pressure size brush in Photoshop. It's basically the basic brush. You paint and it's completely opaque. You can change it slightly by tapping in this button here that makes it a little bit more opaque. So basically, the more you draw, the more it becomes less transparent, basically. But it is, just 100% otherwise opaque. Instead, these brushes here have a much more interesting dynamic between them. So like, the more you use them, the more they sort of do certain effects compiling on top of each other, which is something that I never use or experiment because my style is quite flat. And instead, basically this month I want to try and make it all about shapes, more simple in terms of shape, less realistic, but also kind of experiment with textures more and with painting more, especially in the environment week, which is week 3 of this program. I think I'm gonna try this a lot more. So let's see how it goes. Emily says, I've just realized I always forget to warm up with the brushes I use for coloring. True. Me too. I never do that because I usually warm up just for the sketch, and then by the time I get to color, I feel like, I'm warm enough, so I don't really do it. But I think it's probably a good idea, I think my Photoshop is slightly spazzing out because this thing doesn't react to me anymore. Whatever, it's fine. So yeah, so this is the Kyle's gouache set. Which I'm gonna be trying and use for coloring. And finally, I'm just saving this as day 1. And finally, for the environment week, I'm actually going to be trying to use the lasso tool, which is the hotkey is L, and I'm going to be using the lasso tool to do some speed paintings of environments, like of houses or outdoors or fantasy backgrounds, whatever the day requires. Speed painting is something that I never have practiced, so that's definitely going to be, I think, the most out of my comfort zone that I can think of. As you can see here, during week 1 I have portrait, and I'm pretty well versed with portraits. Like, it's something that I have practiced like a lot in my life. And then I have the figure, so there's going to be a lot of figure drawing, dynamic poses, etc, etc. That's also something that I usually work on, so not hugely terrified by that. Then week 3, I've got environments, where I'm going to be focusing on perspective and drawing objects, props, and backgrounds, basically, environments. That's definitely something that does worry me, because, again, I have never really practiced my environment skills. Like, whenever I do backgrounds, I do them by starting with a line and then moving into the line and coloring each part, etc, etc. So what I'm going to be doing this time, or what I'm going to be attempting to do, is to use the lasso tool to quickly create shapes on the page that mimic the reference that I'm trying, and then with the other brushes, the gouache set brushes, I'm going to go in and just make some adjustments very quickly. So my attempt is to speed paint, so basically just use half an hour, 40 minutes a day, and create a full background. That's gonna be hard, I think. That's definitely gonna be very hard. So let's see how it goes. So yeah, I think for today, I have picked my art media and brushes. I have decided my goals for this month, which, yeah, it's basically push my shapes and try and work more on environments during week 3. And I have practiced some lines on the page, so I'm all set for today. As you can see, it doesn't need to be like an hour or 2 hours practice every day to follow this calendar. It's literally just 10-15 minutes a day. I really don't think it should be more than that, because otherwise by day 4 you're gonna start feeling like this is taking up a lot of your day and you don't have time. So instead, I think it needs to be something really quick, that you can, it's just a warm-up, it's just something that you can implement in your daily routine, and it's not going to take up a huge chunk of your day. And as soon as you start, thinking of it as a part of your daily routine, like brushing your teeth or, having a shower, I'm sure that you're going to, improve loads, because that's when actual change happens, when we make it part of our everyday routine, basically. So yeah, that's all for me today. I hope that you guys also choose your goal for this month, your media, your brushes, and practice some lines on page. And I'll see you tomorrow for the first actual day when we're gonna draw. Tomorrow is Wednesday, and I'm going to be drawing 10 blank faces in different perspectives. So the blank face is just basically a blank face is this, it's just a circle with the tilt of the head given by the central axis, and then a jaw. So yeah, this is a blank face, and I'm going to be drawing 10 of them in different perspectives. So different perspectives means this is one angle, another perspective is with the nose in the air, for example, and there you go, like that. Another perspective is with nose down. And there you go. So that's gonna be it for tomorrow. And then, as the calendar is on my Patreon, the calendar is most likely, definitely on my Patreon by memo. It's like www.patreon/bymemo on Patreon. But there's also a landing page that is linked on my Instagram where you can just pop in your email and it will send you to a Dropbox folder where you can download the calendar. You can download this calendar, or you can download a blank version of it if you want to make your own plan, basically. And thank you, Rob, for saying happy first day of my reStarter. Thank you, and happy first day to you all. I hope that you can all join in and feel like you're restarting your creativity if you've had a rocky beginning of 2022, or if you have been experiencing an art block, or if you just feel stuck with your style at the moment. I feel like this is a good way of getting started if you're a beginner, or getting restarted if you're an advanced artist and you just want to do something good for yourself. It's like going to the gym. Just do something good for yourself every day. Yeah, so tomorrow 10 blank faces and then one portrait from a reference photo that you like. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. It's kind of same time, probably, maybe a little bit earlier. And yeah, I mean, if you can't catch me in the morning, you can just catch me later on during the day, according to where you're based in the world. And thank you for joining, and I shall see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.